Hello, and this is the Warp Forge with another Arkham Files for you. Today we're going to go into, or in this episode we're definitely going to go into another variation of the man who never misses. This time it is the classic costume variant of Deadshot. So we'll just go through the name and alias first. Simple 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6, I think. Stuff. So name Floyd Lawton, alias Deadshot, rank free agent, affiliate unknown. So basically you can go with anyone apart from certain gangs said in his personal traits. So that out of the way, we'll go on to the stat line. So willpower 7, average. Strength 5 plus, not the best, very much basic henchman level, but it's, well, you can tell from the model he's not a close quarters sort of guy. Movement 3, that's average for a free agent. Attack 3, not the best, but then again, it gets what he does best done, which is shooting. Defense 3, standard for a free agent. Endurance 7, standard for a free agent. Special, standard, all game round. So, he's got all that done. He's got all that sorted. He's not very good in close quarters, but apart from that, he's alright everywhere else. But to make up for the lack of close quarters, you've got his range stuff, which is the best he can do. So we'll go on to the weapons now. His first weapon on the list is the Barrett, or Barrett. I don't know how to really pronounce that, so I'm just going to call it Barrett. So the Barrett, as far as I know, has the most blood damage of any weapon in the game, with 4 blood damage at the time of this episode. So again, that's 4 blood damage. That can instantly one-hit henchmen like that. That's insanely good. And it just gets better, if I'm honest, the further I go on to it. Rate fire 1, where it's one shot's all you need. Ammo 3, so you can fire it 3 times a game. You have the special, which is the firearm, the reload, the aim, the anti-tank, the scope, and crit 3 blood damage. So firearm, 2 plus 2 damage, non-vehicle targets. Reload, basically every time you fire the gun, you need to wait a turn, so most likely either playing odds or evens with Deadshot in terms of when he can fire or not. This is especially important to plan ahead because this game really does rely on you to plan ahead quite a bit, as well as adapting to the current situation at hand. You have aim, which basically means that you can't move and fire at the same weapon with that weapon, the sniper, his big ass sniper rifle. Only because if he was doing some sort of like trick shots, 360 no scopes, I think a lot of people call bullshit on that. So yeah, it's a good thing that he's got aim. Anti-tank. Anti-tank basically ignores all the armour for, as far as I can remember, ignores all the armour for vehicles. Don't really need to know too much about vehicles at the moment since there's only the Batmobile. Potentially the SWAT van could have rules soon. We don't know. But as far as I know, vehicles, I'll put in a special mention on vehicles in future episodes when they become more readily available, because at the moment you've just got the Batmobile and nobody plays with the Batmobile because it's one model for a gang, basically. Oh, pardon me. Scope. So scope basically means that you ignore all ping rolls if you've drawn line of sight to your target. Note, this doesn't mean that you ignore line of sight, you just ignore ping rolls. So you still need to draw a line of sight to your target, so no magical bendy bullets or anything before you get clever. So, and the last one, crit 3 blood damage, and that's one of the scariest crits I've seen. So add that to the 4 blood damage, you've got potentially 7 blood. This can take out leaders such as Arkham Knight's Scarecrow and Arkham Knight's Harley Quinn. Now, whether or not that will happen or not is up to what happens in the game when you use them. But the idea of doing that, or like going up to a sidekick of Endurance 8 or a leader that has Endurance 8 or 9, you're leaving them on 2 or 1 Endurance. So you're basically wiping out the majority of their willpower in one hit. That is a massive, massive game changer. As well as 4 blood damage can instantly kill any old Endurance 4 henchmen, which can be big, but it really depends on deployment and model placement. So the second weapon he's got, because obviously he needs more guns, is a 9mm twin cannon. It does 2 blood, it's rate fire 2, so potentially that's 4 blood damage. His ammo's 2, firearm, medium range, and light. So firearm, damages on 2 up, as I've said. Medium range, 40 centimeters, 30 in dark, 40 illuminated. And the light rule, which basically means that if there's an enemy model within 5 centimeters of this model, he can still fire his 9mm twin cannons, except it becomes rate fire 1. So, his personal traits. He has dodge. So basically, dodge allows you to spend movement counters after you've taken ranged shooting hits or ranged attack hits. You spend as many as you can or as many as you want from your movement counters, and then you make an agility rolls. Agility rolls are basically like a leadership test or initiative test in terms of 40k. You have to equal or under the stat of what it is. So you need 3 or less. So on Deadshot. So for every dice that gets, or die roll that gets 3 or less, you basically ignore 1 rate of fire shot. So if you've got like a weapon that's rate of fire 2 that both hit on you, and you spend all 3 movement counters to avoid it, and you get 2 3s and a 6, you've essentially negated the whole shot. His next trait is obsessive. Obsessive basically means that once he latches onto a target, he can't attack anyone else but that target. However, he does get +1 strength against that target so his strength becomes 5 up to 4 up, which is good. It's nice, especially if you have 0 ammunition and you really need to knock out a model. Once you've knocked out that target or killed that target as a casualty, then you lose those restrictions and you lose the benefits as well for the remainder of the game until he fires or attacks another model, in which case he becomes possessive or obsessive over that, because Deadshot always gets his kill. He has Range Master, and this is a big one, especially for his Barret. It adds +1 to hit bonuses against enemy models. So if you're fighting against the likes of Deathstroke, his defense technically becomes 4, so you need 4 more to hit instead of 5 more, which is a huge difference in Batman, because you don't have many dice, and that's what makes the game so beautiful, in my opinion. Compliments to the chef. It's just that every dice counts. It's not like you're rolling buckets of dice and you're just going, well, on averages, every dice counts in Batman. So something what looks small is a big major impact in the game. So Range Master does that. Obviously 4 goes down to 3, 3 goes down to 2, etc, etc. He also has his last one, which is hates Batman, Green Arrow, Law, and the Joker. I think he hates Joker mainly because of Joker's shenanigans, and Assault on Arkham happens, and I think in the comics, spoilers for people who don't already know, but in the comics, I think Deadshot has a relationship with Harley, and I think that's why there's 2 massive gaps. Or there's 2 massive, we're not going near the clown, if you make sense of that. So, his special traits, so we've just been over his personal. His special traits are Outlaw Field Commander, which is 1 special counter. Once per round, this model may choose 1 friendly character within 10 centimeters. That character gains 1 action counter. So basically, you can just have them flying up the board and just going 3 action counters to a friendly henchman. Note, this is once per round, so you can only do this once a turn, basically, from this guy. He also has Assassin 3. If this character kills an enemy boss, his side immediately gains 3 extra victory points. Now, it's important to know that the keyword boss was used, not leader. So sidekicks, who can be classed as bosses, if they die, they also provide 3 extra victory points for Deadshot and Deadshot's team of whoever he's on. So that's, again, beautifully done. It's one of those things that you do have to really think about with Deadshot. His reputation is 90, so he's quite costly, and it's funding $600, which is a lot, especially in Batman. So, how do you use him? How do you use the man who never misses? Contrary to popular belief, there are actually more ways than just set on a giant fucking tower and fire. There are other ways. For example, the first one, and I'm going to point out the big, massive pink elephant in the room, obviously you can have him on a giant tower sniping targets. However, this isn't the most tactical option for Deadshot, despite popular belief. Only because there are that many models that can ignore the hits, because Deadshot doesn't have anything that ignores bodyguard or dodge. He just ignores covers. So if you've got a bodyguard like Mr. Hammer or Sickle next to Joker or Penguin or Harley, or if you've got Harley or Deathstroke who can dodge because they're an acrobat, then it's going to be very hard to really pin them down or target them. Aside from that, if you've got other characters who don't have the same luxuries per se as Joker or Penguin or people or acrobats, then they will try and hide the bosses. They will try and use them as buff, as more of a buff ratio, and they will try to avoid line of sight with Deadshot, because once Deadshot fires that sniper rifle, that's it. It's game over. So basically, it's not the best only because of that, and you've also got to remember that there are flies in the game, and flies are basically like Hawkman, Starfire, Hawkgirl, Cyborg. I can't remember any others, but I assume when Man-Bat gets released, Man-Bat will be a flyer. So yeah, they can be removed from the board and then placed anywhere on the board just due to spending a few special counters as stated on the card, a few movement special. So automatically within like 2 turns, you can hide your boss. Well, the opponent can hide the boss, get the flyer, put it next to Deadshot, and he can't fire a sniper rifle because they'll be within 5 centimeters, and then he's got to rely on either his twin cannons or close combat abilities. At that point, you've wasted $600 on funding. So again, it can be very good, especially if you're wanting to pin or manipulate your opponent's movements. But just remember, you are spending a very expensive character just for one purpose if you're keeping them on a high vantage point. The other point you can do is early to mid game, you can have them fly up and start buffing certain characters. And it does say one friendly character, not henchman or anything, so you can target really anyone. That's as far as my knowledge goes. So you could target a sidekick, a bleeder, another free agent, I believe, and another henchman. So you can just target whoever you want and then just give them free action counter. Lodge him in a place where you think he's going to have a nice line of fire to anyone. Sniper rifle sorts it all. It's important to note that if you do fire a sniper rifle and you do get lucky and you get the crit and you do 7 blood damage and the opponent's model's still not dead, it is wise in the next turn, obviously because you reload the sniper rifle, to use the 9mm cannons just to provide the execution. Or if there's a friendly model nearby that can easily take out the model in question, then I would say go for it as long as that model doesn't need any other purpose for that turn. Otherwise, Deadshot may as well just go for the 20mm cannons next turn, fire up, and provide the execution. So again, if you do this on bosses, you get 3 victory points, so extra victory points. So on leaders, that's usually 6, that's 9 victory points, that's massive. That is what causes the game to flip just like that. Your opponent could be winning or could be close to a draw, but if you get those 9 victory points like that, you've won the game, especially if it's late game and the opponent can't do anything about it. This is how much of a game changer Deadshot is, but he does have his restrictions, which is what makes him balanced, and I love that. But that's not to say that he's a terrible choice. The only thing I can really say that Deadshot really doesn't like is obviously over the guns, close combat masters, and flies. That's probably his 3 main weaknesses. He doesn't like close combat because he's not terribly good at it. He'd rather fire his 20mm cannons than bugger off somewhere else, probably down Piccadilly Alley or something like that. And like I say, flyers will just fly up, fly down, and constantly chase them with some sort of combat abilities. And you don't want that either, if I'm honest. Especially if Hawkman comes behind you and just goes with his mace with the nth metal, just bonks him on the head. You don't want this guy being knocked out when he's worth 90 rep and $600 funding. So he is expensive for what he does, but there are ways around him, and there's his strengths. So we've talked about other guns, close combat, we've talked about the flies, and I believe that's Deadshot in a nutshell. Now, I'm not going to talk about teams at the moment because I'm going to try and do a review of the Flash and Arrow expansion. Now we've had a bit of time to explore the options and see what other people have experienced as well. I can then now provide a final judgment. I hope to provide an overall review on the Floral book, as it's commonly known. And in that book, and in that video, I will talk a lot more about teams. And I think I will do separate Team Arkham files for each team. So obviously the first one will be Suicide Squad, because that's the only team I've got at the moment. I'm not sure about Secret Six, and I'm not sure about Birds of Prey, and I'm not sure about Teen Titans. They could come, but it won't be till much, much later. So just bear in mind and bear with us with that. Suicide Squad seems to be the most popular anyway, despite their drawbacks, which I'll let you know in the next video. So, that was Deadshot's Arkham file. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed what you saw and you want to see more Arkham files on various leaders and bosses and gangs and henchmen and free agents, then please click the subscribe button below. If you liked what I was talking about and you want to listen to more, then please share the video out, get the name out there, get friends who may want this model some advice, or if you found this useful, then click the like button below. And if there's anything you want to talk about the game or about the Tactica or about this model, then please comment down below. I very much appreciate your thoughts. So thanks for watching. This is the Warp Forge signing out, and remember, keep on forging.